Harper. Mr. Harper is a senior non-resident fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. His work there focuses on digital privacy, privacy law, and select constitutional issues. He has written several amicus briefs in Fourth Amendment cases before the U.S. Supreme Court and has published articles in a variety of law journals. Mr. Harper, welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Chairman Paul, Ranking Member Peters, and members of the committee for the opportunity to testify before you today. I'm happy to return to a committee where I was a counsel for a short time early in my career under the chairmanship of Senator Ted Stevens. Having established that I am old, I also want to confess to being slightly embarrassed for all of us that my written testimony submitted to you spends as much time as it does on the problem of counterterrorism security policy, which still plagues us nearly 25 years after the attacks of September 11, 2001. I wish that by now we had better systems in place for assessing risk and calibrating our responses. I'm in the privileged position of working in a think tank that encourages me to call it like I see it, without reference to orthodoxies or partisan considerations. That's the American Enterprise Institute, where I'm a non-resident senior fellow. This morning, the president of AEI asked me a lot of questions about my testimony, and I said, you can't ask all these questions. I'm going to have to change my opening statement, but I'll proceed. The testimony I have submitted to you is a sincere effort to summarize what my study over years has produced in terms of strategic counterterrorism and the security systems by which a free country should address a particularly difficult challenge. Doing security well is an American, nonpartisan interest. There are partisan valences to this hearing, of course, but there is opportunity here because communities and people sympathetic to both sides of the aisle have now experienced the negative consequences of watch listing, including in this Quiet Skies program. In writing my testimony, I kept coming back to the theme that watch listing is a security and constitutional half measure. Watch listing is a system for interdicting people whose activities do not raise sufficient suspicions to merit actual interdiction through full investigation, arrest, and the levying of criminal charges. By doling out minor punishments and derogations on freedom unilaterally, watch listing defies our constitutional separation of powers, in which law enforcement is supposed to bring charges to be adjudicated in the separate judicial branch. Watch listing violates due process and derogates from the presumption of innocence, treating people as guilty of something without providing them an opportunity to challenge that assessment. In my written testimony, I placed Quiet Skies in a context as a form of overreaction to terrorism, which as a strategy seeks to trigger victim states into error. The waste of blood and treasure is the clearest error and a win for terrorism. Here, a program costing hundreds of millions of dollars to achieve essentially nothing. Terrorism seeks to knock victim states off their ideological moorings and to delegitimize them. You don't have to believe in a deep state cabal here, but you can recognize that Quiet Skies and other watch listing programs open our government up to the charge, which is delegitimizing. I also supplied in my written testimony material on terrorism risk management that was produced by the Department of Homeland Security's Data Privacy and Integrity Advisory Committee in 2006. The DHS Privacy Committee itself was one effort to create some balance at DHS. The Privacy Impact Assessment process is another. They have a role not to be dismissed, but I don't think internal counterweights do enough to bring balance to security programs. Our tradition is to use tension among branches of government and among agencies to bring balance. And in the latter part of my testimony, I broach a few methods for improving the institutional and policymaking dynamics so there would be fewer or no more Quiet Skies programs. First, Congress could delegate power from the DHS. We can understand the haste and uncertainty that produced broad delegation of power in the aftermath of the September 11, 2001 attacks, but that era is past, and you could specifically authorize programs that you find to be effective, deauthorize the ones that you don't see as clearly and cost-effectively securing our country. Oversight hearings like this are an appropriate response. Public and judicial oversight are important checks that help produce balance. Here, secrecy is a perennial and confounding problem. Daniel Patrick Moynihan's book, Secrecy, the American Experience, argued that secrecy leaves policymakers less informed, it denies government accountability, and it sharply limits public debate about policy and government conduct. An additional proposal I offer is to have the Congress recognize travel as a right equivalent to other rights in the Constitution. Were it recognized clearly as a right, courts would be in a better position to help administer the issues that come before it, and people would be able to challenge security programs that threaten their liberties. Finally, I argue that privatizing at least some parts of travel security would produce good results. Liability rules, the insurance system, and competitive pressures are things that government programs do not have to help guide them. We're in a time of welcome openness to change at the Department of Homeland Security under Secretary Noem. Quiet skies is gone. The shoes-off policy at airport checkpoints is a thing of the past, and there are signals that the liquids rule, another overreaction, may be reconsidered. Let's see more to revamp airline security and counterterrorism policy so that threats are in perspective and directly met while Americans remain free to travel in possession of all their rights. Thank you.